Okay.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to 31 Days of Healthy Relationship Tips. I am Sharon J. Lawrence. I am on this mission for 31 days. Yes, 31 days, meaning that I get to sit with 31 amazing people throughout the month of December to make sure that you have some healthy relationship tips to walk into 2020. And today I am joined with the amazing and beautiful Dr. Candice P. Lovett, licensed marriage and family therapist. Did I get it all right?
Yep, you got it right.
Okay. How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself?
I am good. I
That's
am
good.
good.
That's good.
So tell us, where are you at?
Where am I located?
Yes,
I'm in,
I
oh,
know, but
yes.
they don't know. They
Oh,
don't know.
yes, sure. Yes, I'm in Atlanta, but South
Okay.
Metro Atlanta area, and that's
Okay.
where my practice is as well in Fayetteville. So that's South
Okay.
Metro Atlanta.
Okay.
So down yonder where some people make fun of me and say I'm
She
almost
said
close to
down
Alabama.
yonder. Down yonder, y'all. So
I
can
know
you
that's funny.
tell the people like what it is that you do, give them the name of your practice,
Sure.
and what we're going to talk about today?
Sure, yes. So, name of my practice is New Creation Psychotherapy Services. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist. I'm also in training to be a sex therapist. I feel like the training lasts forever, but I'm getting through it because there's so many courses that I have to take. And I specialize primarily in sexual abuse, assault, domestic violence, PTSD, anxiety, trauma stuff. Um, Sexual issues, female sexuality and pleasure. So it's a whole plethora of things, but they're all in alignment with trauma, sex, sexuality, discovery, and women's development. But I love, 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 love couples.
You have a
Yeah.
lot. That's a lot. And you
Yes.
were trying to say all that in one breath.
Yeah. That's why I was like, I'm sorry if I talk really fast. They're probably like, what the world?
I
Yes.
was like, she's trying to get all that out. Okay. Wow.
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
you also have some ties to Buffalo.
Yes. Yes. Born and raised
Okay.
Buffalo, the
I
Bills
don't think we
Mafia.
had talked about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yep.
went to school in Buffalo.
Yes, UB, right? University of
Yes.
Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes,
Yep.
definitely. And that was my alma mater for
Oh,
undergraduate school as well. I loved UB's campus. I was spoiled
yeah.
because everything was connected.
Yes.
After that, everything was separate. But,
Yeah. Absolutely.
yes, yes, we know how Buffalo can be with all that wonderful and amazing snow.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to complain being here in Maryland. We get hit, but
Oh,
we don't
yeah.
get hit
Not
like
the same
they
way. It's
do.
milder, right?
Right. All
Mm-hmm.
right. So we have a couple of people on. Hey, Francis. Let us know if you're here and let us know where you are located so that Dr. Candice can say hi and
Yes.
connect to you. Please, please, please let us know where you are. I'm sharing now to my page, Dr. Candice. So if you want to go ahead and
Okay.
share.
Okay. And share
Um,
to the page, and I do it from the phone, right? Is this
Yep, you
how?
can do it from your phone or you can do it from your if you're able to see another screen on your computer, just go log into your Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
The
So I
settings.
have two screens open. I'm seeing you on Zoom, but I'm also looking at the Facebook so I can catch any questions that may come up.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm
okay.
trying to be
So
fancy. That's all. Trying to
technologically
be
unsavvy.
fancy.
Yeah, you got do it better than me. Okay, I see.
I'll try. I'll try. Hey, First Lady Tandra. I see you. All right. Francis is actually in Syracuse and Tandra's in
Oh,
here
great.
in Maryland.
Okay.
All right. Well, let's get started because we have about 24 minutes and I want to make it count. They really
Yeah.
are not interested in hearing from me. They want to hear from you. So let's go.
All right.
This week is about couples and how to make sure that couples have healthy relationships with one another.
Yes.
So tell us what's on your mind, what it is that you want to focus on tonight, and we're just going to flow.
Yeah, sure. I think a main thing actually, because all my last sessions tonight, the last four of them were all couples. So, with that being said, the theme for tonight has been a lot on, at least in most cases, communication and sexual intimacy.
Mm.
But it seems to be more of a focus on when it comes up with intimacy, just sexual intimacy, but not all the other forms. Because we have emotional, we have spiritual, we have aesthetic, we have recreational. You know what I mean? We have all these other forms, and so those two seem to go come together in as a pair with couples. So it's like we're not communicating, and then we don't have enough sex.
Right.
So, which is kind of like
they're linked together, right? That's how they see it.
They do, absolutely. And so it's just kind of like, okay, so, and typically if they're not having sex that much, chances are their communication is in the best and they're not really connecting on an intimate level outside of sex either.
Correct. That's
you know, and so I always joke with, you know, heterosexual couples with my male clients to tell them, I say, y'all have the amazing capability to be able to be angry, disconnected, and still have sex just as fine as plain as day. Whereas
please keep talking. Yes, keep talking.
Because they'll be like, oh, you still like, and we had a big argument. I'm still upset. You tapping my shoulders, like I'm still mad at you. Like, what did we? I'm about to fall out the seat.
Right. Don't touch me. Wait, what's going on?
I don't know how they do it. I said maybe, you know, because their brains are like, they're wired. I know men are wired differently. We know
they are.
You know, and one of my clients said years ago that men are waffles and women are spaghetti. I know what the heck he was talking about. I said, I'm gonna need you to explain this to me. So he was like, listen, with a man, you just gonna get one square. He said that's all you gonna get. He was like, women, y'all are like all these connections. Spaghetti come together, y'all make connections in places. If for us, it goes over our head. So they're lost, you know, and so that's why, in a sense, how one of my clients described it is like, that's how we're able to still have sex and be able to separate that from when we had a disagreement in a conversation.
Right.
So I was like, okay, that gave me some insight as to how some men, I say all, but some men are wired in that way and how they have the amazing ability to do that. Whereas women is like, if I don't feel connected to you, if we not vibing, if I'm upset with you, ain't is nothing that's gonna happen over here. And if I do something, you're gonna know something is wrong. And I always joke and say, you know, it's gonna be like the Sahara Desert. So you know, it's not gonna work. Because she'll just be doing it just to do it.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that. And ladies, I hope that you're catching this. It's going to be on replay if you're not able to watch. But I'm still stuck on the men are waffles and women are spaghetti. I mean, that's a book by itself. I never saw it from that perspective. I don't know who told him that, but it's a good analogy once he explains it.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So how do you get couples? He said it. It made sense to you, but how do you get couples to understand it from that perspective and respect it?
From the men are waffles and women are spaghetti perspective, I think it helps because I always use that analogy now for them to understand it. And a lot of people's like a light bulb goes off like, oh, that's why, you know. And so I remember distinctly a session I had where she kept talking about like all these things that were wrong. So for him, he was like, I feel like I got to put out 12 fires. Whereas the main cusp of it was, I just want your time. That was the core. That was the one thing. But the spaghetti was all those branches of the examples of how you're not giving me time. So for him, the way they had to meet each other in the middle. So he had to understand that her needing time, those examples were just manifestations of the time she wasn't getting. And then for her to understand that he just needs to hear, I need more of your time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so but it takes to really slow down the process and really listen to each other to really gain that understanding in that way, because the way I'm thinking about it is totally different than the way you're thinking about it. But the goal is to gain an understanding, because I always tell people it's the difference between agreeing and understanding. I can understand you all day. I don't have to agree, but I can at least understand where you're coming from. So I think that's
respect.
And respecting it.
I can respect it, but I don't have to agree.
Exactly. And that's the part, because people get caught up on trying to agree with each other. Like, oh, you're not listening. It's like, is it that they're not listening, or is it that they're not agreeing with you? Two different things. You know, and so I think what I come with that space of saying like, okay, he's going to take all these branches you're giving him as a whole bunch of different problems where it's just one source.
Right.
Come at the source, but then say, okay, this is the source, but these are the ways in which I feel this way based on that particular thing. you know, and so that he can gain a full understanding as to what you're talking about. And on his end, to try to understand, like, oh, okay, so I see when I do ABCD, it's feeding that core theme of you don't feel valued or appreciated in this relationship.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so,
absolutely.
but it takes having to slow the process down a lot. So I have to do a lot of active listening, like enactment exercises, and where the person has to, one person has to express how they feel about a situation. The other person has to rephrase or paraphrase what they heard them say. And we cannot move forward. You can't offer a rebuttal or response until that person feels understood.
Right.
So, of course, in couples therapy, sometimes we have some hiccups. That's why I always say, let's start with something easy and simple.
Right.
Because it can turn into an argument in the session. So, you know, and so I just say, you know, because most times it's like, basically you said I don't listen. No, but it's like, is that what they said, or is that how it got filtered? You know, and so a lot of times it's like, that's not what I said, you know, and it's just kind of like, they have to keep going and going. And even if it takes 5-6 times for you to have to keep repeating yourself until that person feels understood.
So you're teaching them basically to communicate effectively, not just learn how to listen, but also how to deliver the message that they're trying to get across.
Yes, for sure. Because delivery, I say, is a good chunk of it. Sometimes I say 10 or 15% of the time, maybe no matter what you say, the person's still going to get upset. But I feel like 85% of the time is pretty much how you deliver that package. And a lot of times that's where people get caught up.
Yeah. Thank you for saying that, because a lot of times I hear people say, well, what do you do when they still don't get it? And I tell them, it's still important for you to deliver the message the right way, regardless of how you think they're going to react. They're not always going to say, oh, that was nice.
Exactly.
Okay, I received that. Okay, all's better now.
Yeah. Because some people, I think, hope for that, but it's like sometimes people is like, they get reactive. So it's like, nope, I didn't hear anything you said. I got reactive. I'm not hearing anything. You bothered me with that statement, and it's out the window. And, you know, and sometime in those conversations, you know, and I've started doing this probably within the last 6 months, about creating a homework assignment that includes rules of engagement. So it's like, especially as it comes to disagreement. So what's okay to do in a disagreement, what's absolutely not okay, and what is our safe word?
Okay.
To take a time out.
Okay.
Should it not work? Because sometimes people get a little flustered, and we know these things. And it's times I done gave couples like that exact exercise, and they'll tell me, they come in like, oh, that flew out the window. We didn't do that. You know, so it's like, okay, well, I appreciate the honesty, you know, but, and I understand when you're reactive or you get angry, that all those tools sometimes fly off the window. So I was like, okay, if you don't use any tool or any other tool, at least learn how to take a time out the effective way and have a safe word, because some people we know like to go for the jugular, hit below the belt.
Pretty much. Yep.
Those things just because they want to see you hurt.
You got to get you back, because I'm hurt, so you're going to be hurt. And that's not good.
Exactly. It's like fair game to them. And one of my couples just said, they're like, yeah, at this point when we mad, there's no holds barred. We gonna see who gonna win. You know, and so it's like, but are you really winning?
No one's winning.
No, we both lose.
Yeah.
So
I mean, that's why y'all seeing Dr. Candice.
Yeah, exactly.
It's time to do something different. And that's what I'm kind of hearing, is that for those of you that are listening, whether live or on the replay, this is really about you understanding how to communicate effectively. When we're talking about healthy relationships, you have to understand communication and conflict resolution skills are key. They are necessary.
Absolutely.
So that is what we're trying to get across.
Yes. And that's why I always say, you know, disagreements are the inevitable. You know, disagreements are actually healthy. I always say it's all in how we do it. It's always in how we do it. So if we could do so in an effective way where, and I tell people, if we're looking at things like, yes, we need to hear each other out, how we're feeling and things of that nature. And at the same time, what is the resolve? At what point do we reach a resolve? Because at this point, we're just talking in circles. And so I try to tell couples, like, try to have the end game in mind. What is it that I'm requesting? What is it that I'm hoping to gain as a result of this conversation? Because a lot of times, as we know, it can go for hours. And then the argument is over because we exhausted. And so now it's brushed under the rug, and lo and behold, we get into another argument. Now we bringing up the dishes plus what we argued about 10 weeks ago. So this has nothing to do with this conversation, yet it still comes up. And I was telling them, the way you know you genuinely resolved the issue, it doesn't come up anymore. And sometimes people forget, like, oh, I don't even remember why we was arguing. But rarely does that happen in communication or when there is a breakdown in conflict resolution.
Dr. Candice, can you talk a little bit about helping people get to a place of wanting to resolve? Because some people get into scenarios where they've been in this place of conflict for so long, the desire to resolve it is not even there. They're so used to it. So can you talk a little bit about helping them get to a place, like you said, forgiveness, but can you elaborate on all that?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes people get stuck in, something that one of my professors taught me when I was at Syracuse is that every couple has their own dance. It's a dance. So we get used to this dance. And so when you start changing the dance up, it gets uncomfortable. It's unfamiliar territory. So it's like, this is all that right now, based on this dynamic, this is all that we know. And so to change that dynamic would mean what does this look like? It's kind of the fear of the unknown, so it's like, I know doing it this way isn't helpful, but I don't know what's down that other road. And so how I come at it, because I use a narrative therapy lens with my couples, narrative and solution focused a little bit, but I tell them, you're not the problem is the problem. So how do we together as a team, as a couple, work together against the problem? And sometimes we even name the problem, it's kind of like the externalization of the problem, where once again, the problem is the problem. That's basically what externalization is. But, where, one of my couples, they call there's the thought box. I said, okay, if that's what y'all want to call it, that's what it's going to be. And so it's like, how do we work together as a team to fight against this thought box that's getting in the way of our communication, of our intimacy, of our anger, you know what I mean? That's keeping us from being close to one another. So when you kind of look at it from the angle of we're not the problem, we're taking the problem out of ourselves and tackling it together as a team. We're not the enemy. The problem is the enemy. Then you get a whole nother type of, you get a different reaction. Because it's a matter, but it takes time to change that mindset and to change the dance. And that's why I always tell them that the work is the intentionality. Is being intentional. That's the work. So
I love that.
Yeah. And the more they do it, the more conscientious they are, the more they're likely to see the change. And they're changed because they are inspired by what they are doing for each other.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think forgiveness comes with that too. And I tell people, and I know it sounds so cliche that, it's like you don't forgive for the other person, you forgive for yourself kind of thing. But I realize that, as people, I remember a pastor said this a while ago, that unforgiveness is like a cancer to a relationship. So, and it's not to say forgive and forget. I believe in forgiveness, but the whole piece, and I try to reframe it. And, narrative therapy is all about reframes as well. So I tell them, I love the Japanese kintsugi art, where, it's taking up broken pieces of pottery and lining the cracks with gold. So I tell them any infractions or negative things that may have happened in the relationship, yes, it's a scar. The scar doesn't have to hurt anymore, but that scar can be beautiful because it's there. So it's more of a post-traumatic growth lens. You know what I'm saying? Where it's like, we're better because these things happen. Do we want these things happen again? Absolutely not. But because these things happen, we're even stronger than we were before. So I try to get them to come to look at it from that vantage point, because we can't forget it. The scar is there. But the meaning we subscribe to the scar is where the healing takes place.
So it's all about perception.
Absolutely.
And how you choose to look at your circumstances.
Absolutely. It's all about the mindset. And, and it is second order change. And that's what we learned. First order change is like just behavior modification. But second order change is the things that is more long lasting, but it just takes longer to get to, especially in couples therapy. Because some people I've had for a while, but that the drastic change that I've seen from when they first walked in to where they are now is amazing. So, but it took a lot of time, and it took a lot of both of them work, because one person can't do it alone.
That's right.
You need both people. And I've had situations where one person didn't want to do the work, and I can tell, because that's when I was like, I had to meet with them sometimes by themselves, and it's like, okay, what's going on? And I remember one person, she was like, I don't feel like it. I said, well, I can tell you don't, because you're not doing it. And her husband is going above and beyond, doing the homework, doing all the work, but we're still stagnant.
Mm-hmm. And
because she
that's not
wanted
what she wants to do because she's
exactly,
tired.
exactly.
Yeah.
She wanted a
Yeah.
divorce. So,
Mm.
and it showed. But I think it was too. She was too. She didn't want to hurt his feelings. That's what it was.
Wow.
But you're doing yourself and your marriage a disservice.
Yeah. So you stay to keep him from being hurt, but in the end, you're both hurt anyway
Exactly.
because you can't give 100% if you're not in anymore. There's no
Absolutely.
more buy-in.
No, it's not. It's not. So it's
Wow.
like I'm out of it. I'm checked out completely.
All right, Dr. Candice, we have 8 minutes left, and I was trying to see if I could pull up some of these comments that we have. We have 10 people watching right now,
Okay.
and Dr. Rael Sims says, that's deep. What is the ultimate goal with the conversation?
Oh yeah. Yes.
Latasha says, you're not the problem is the problem. Yes. Separate the problem from the couple. And then using the post-traumatic growth lens, the problem can leave a scar, but you can create beauty,
Absolutely.
from the scar.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, all of
So
that.
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I know I had some other, here we go. I'm like, I know there were other comments. Okay. And that was me. Men are waffles and women are spaghettis. I'm not going to forget that.
It won't leave you by, trust me.
Yes. Every couple has their own dance. And Dillard said, hurt people, and boundaries during a disagreement.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Dr. Raiola again says, understanding is key and mirroring the conversation.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Hands-on things, and that's the stuff that creates the change, is that they actually can apply it and do it versus just conceptual ideas of, okay, you should, you know what I mean, like, oh, this is what something should look like, but it's like, okay, what are the necessary tools we need in order to get there? And that's the more practical part of things, you know. So I give tons of homework, and sometimes people like it, sometimes they don't. But I feel like, and I always say 90% of what you do is outside these doors.
That's right.
We get 1 hour a week, sometimes 2 hours a month, you know, and so a lot of the work is in between time.
Very true. Very true. Can you talk a little bit for those couples who we know may never take the step into that counseling office? Because 3 nights in a row, we've had all clinicians, but we know that there are some who say, we think we can do this at home. What advice or what tips would you give them? And even for those people that are single or seriously dating, or maybe they're currently, they just got engaged. Who knows? But what advice would you give them that they can do at home?
Yeah, well, I would say I call them post checks. I think the Shays Williams would say something about like having those conversations. Those post checks, and I always say that too. Like just saying kind of what's going well, what are areas of growth, and I use strength-based language on purpose. I don't say what's your problems. I say what are your areas of growth.
Right.
You know, where can you grow at? Where can you be better? But if they can have, whether it's weekly, whether it's bi-weekly, those kinds of conversations, I think are very beneficial to have, just to check in with each other and see where each other is, because a lot of times we don't do that. Also kind of doing different, intentional activities together, to create more, not to say that intimacy is lacking, but it's just why not enhance what we already have. Right. So those date nights, or enjoying things together, enjoying each other's company, making sure that we're transparent and honest at all times, even if it hurts. But I'm all about transparency. And to me, honesty, I can tell you I'm mad. Transparency is telling you exactly why I'm mad. So, and I think that's two different things. Right. And, those types of things, like I said, continue to communicate with one another. Learning from other couples. I feel like it's good to have, I remember, me and my husband met with a couple that had been married like 30 years. He said it's always good to have a wise woman or a wise man, and a wise couple to kind of, guide you through it. It's not to say we all have those same experiences, but it's just helpful to have couples who have been together, who've been through, the good, the bad, the ugly, couples who've been through some stuff, not the happy-go-lucky ones, and there's nothing wrong with those, but
trust me, the happy-go-lucky, they still have some stuff that they got to deal with, right?
Exactly. It is that keeping that lie facade going on, and I can't, so it's more that the ones where you really, that you respect and that you value what they have to say about marriage and about relationships and things of that nature. So, I think those are some things, some tools that could be very beneficial, even, to how they have like couples conferences, and even for those who are newly engaged, pre-engage, I think the main thing is to focus on what are our strengths and what are the things that we can grow on, and how do we utilize the strengths that we have to work through these problems together as a team. It's all about the team, you know, because as we know, anything that you carry into marriage only gets magnified in marriage. It's like putting a microscope to the problems that were already there. So, and I always share that, especially with the the premarital couples. And even as a single person, like finding, you know, this book is called 101 Things I Wish I Knew Before I Got Married. I loved it. We had to read it from a master's program. But one of the key things was the greatest gift that you can give your partner is your own happiness. So I have to be happy with me and not depend on my partner for happiness, because at that point it's not healthy and it's codependency. So my happiness comes from me and me alone. Partners can add or take away from it, but they don't define my happiness.
That's right.
So that's a big piece within self.
I hope y'all got that. Wow, we have some happy faces, we have some hearts, we have some tears, and we have some wows that just popped up on that screen.
Oh wow. Yeah.
And so I think it's key. So as we prepare to close, can you talk a little bit about the individual getting their own happiness?
Yes, absolutely. I would say the first step is figuring out, or the process of exploring, what makes me happy independent of anybody or anything. What just makes me happy? You know, and especially for women, because I remember I did a workshop a couple years ago, and I just simply asked the question, what makes you happy? No one had an answer for me outside of, oh, my kids, oh, this, oh, my husband. But what makes you happy individually? And so sometimes it requires a matter of exploration. What do I like to do? Do I like to go to a movie by myself? Do I like to go out to eat by myself? Do I like to travel? Like, what are the things that genuinely make me feel good? And a lot of people don't know, but that's why I say, no, we have to find a process of exploration. And if I'm not happy, what are the barriers that are getting in the way of that? What are the things that stand in the way that I have to give myself permission to let go of in order to get happy? And that's, you know, it's very abstract, but, you know, it's just more or less, it's a process.
Because you're talking about vulnerability.
Yes.
We don't want to be vulnerable with other people, but we also are afraid to be vulnerable with ourselves, because that requires feeling. It requires peeling back things.
It does. And that assignment I give to some individuals, a lot of them, I tell them to write a letter to their child selves about what they want to give themselves permission to let go of, because the child is going to hold on to things that they didn't understand as a child. As an adult, we can conceptualize and make sense of the things that have happened in our lives, but the child doesn't. That child is still inside. And so, and that's the part. And and some people don't like that assignment for that very reason, because they have to face some things within themselves that they just don't feel like facing. It's too deep. It was too heavy. But like you said, being vulnerable with self, it starts there, because if I can't be vulnerable with myself, how can I be vulnerable with anyone else?
That's right.
You know, so that's a big piece of it, for sure. Yeah.
Y'all, this was heavy. Now I know why we got some tears floating on the thing. Woo. Okay. This is good stuff. Thank you so much, Dr. Candice. We are right at that 8:31 mark, but I want you to tell people what's coming up next for you, and how can they find you?
Yeah, sure. What's coming up next? Well, actually, next Saturday, I'm doing my classy Christmas date night with the couple. So I'm excited. I got some people. I only got it for a limited amount of people, because I want to make it intimate, fun and games, food and things like that. And people can find me on Instagram at Dr. Cooper-Lovett or New Creation PSY. That's Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. They're all the same handle. And website is A New Creation Psychotherapy, and my professional site is Dr. Cooper-Lovett.
Okay. You kind of did that kind of fast for me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I got Instagram at Dr. Cooper-Lovett, and what was the next one?
At New Creation PSY. Okay. Sorry.
No, that's okay. Yeah. I think I can type fast, but and that's also on Instagram, and you said Twitter.
Twitter and Facebook. All three of them are the same.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah.
All right. And is there a website that they can follow you at as well?
Sure.
Or?
Yes. A New Creation Psychotherapy for the practice, and Dr. Cooper-Lovett for the professional site.
Psychotherapy. All right.
Yes.
Got it. And www. Dr. Cooper-Lovett, all one word.
Yep. Dr. Cooper-Lovett.
com.
Yes.
Okay, got it.
Yes, thank you.
Well, thank you so much. I know it's late and you have been working hard, working with couples all day today. So thank you so much. I've been looking, trying to make sure we didn't miss any questions. We just getting a lot of compliments saying very heavy, but great job. So thank you so much for taking the time.
Yes, and thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you for accepting the invitation. And guys, thank you so much for joining us. Dr. Candice is awesome.
Yes,
and so we're only on day 3. You know, we clinicians, I don't know math. So we got a lot of days left. So please tune in tomorrow. We will be graced with the presence of Miss Marquita Johnson. And so we're excited. Yes, we love her. We love you. So I'm just super excited. So you guys tune in so we can get these tips and do right in 2020.
Thank you.
All right.
Have a good night.
Thank you. You do the same.
Bye.